An example of a day in the life of the Grey Sand 2 would be the executive guests would fly into the Kenora Airport, usually in a charter or a private jet. Uh, they would be limousined from the airport to the Port of Kenora, to the dock where the Grey Sand sits. The crew would be there to meet and greet the customers. At that point, the captain would blow the horn and the Grey Sand 2 would be on its way down the lake. Uh, the guests are immediately shown their accommodations, and their luggage would get to the Grey Sand 2 before that they would it would be all packed away. On a nice day, which we have lots of them, the guests would go straight to the top deck, where they would be seated by the stewards and asked what they would like to for a beverage, or there would be hors d'oeuvres served at that time also. From the point of them boarding the Grey Sand 2 until the time when the fishing would begin is about a 2.5 hour cruise through the islands, about 24 miles down the lake. After a lunch, usually of homemade soup, fresh buns, and whatever the chef would do for an entree, 4 20-foot fishing boats would pick up the guests. They would split up into pairs. Professional guides would come to the side of the Grey Sand where the customers would board off the boarding ladder. And they would leave for between 3 and 5 hours. Most of the customers would fish for walleye, which is the main staple for the Grey Sand 2, for catching, and muskie fishing also. Our area that we fish in is fantastic for walleye and muskie. Approximately between 5 and 6 o'clock in the evening at that point, the fishing boats would arrive back to the Grey Sand 2, which would be anchored in a bay, sheltered bay for the afternoon. They would board back on the Grey Sand 2, and the captain would begin the hors d'oeuvre cocktail dinner cruise. This generally begins at 6 o'clock in the evening and will end just after sunset. Cocktail hors d'oeuvres would be served approximately 7 o'clock after the guests had time to clean up after a day of fishing, and served on the upper deck. The dinner bell, which is actually from the Forlong era, would be rung approximately 7:30 or 8 o'clock, depending on how the guests are enjoying the upper deck. They would be escorted downstairs, and they'd be served the first course of their 5 to 6 course meal. It may start out with a homemade soup, lobster bisque, or red pepper voulet. Again, depends on what the chef wants to cook that evening. Followed by a salad, and right back to the entree and the dessert at the end of the evening. Later in the evening, after the dessert is served, the boat would anchor again in a different sheltered bay, and a lot of times the guests would take specialty coffee or whatever other beverage they would like to use or eat, drink, to the top deck, where they would retire and watch the stars, which many of them don't get to see out of from the big cities. Salisbury Cruise owns 33 acres on Big Narrows Island in the middle of Lake of the Woods. This is where most of the non-lake activities happen. The sporting clay range, the trap range, the golf driving range, which actually is done with floating golf balls. We have a shore lunch shelter in case we need to have shore lunch in inclement weather, and proper docking facilities, so it's safe for the guests to get in and out of the boats. After a restful sleep in their staterooms, the guests would wake up in the morning to fresh brewed coffee and fresh sweet rolls, again made by the chef, and sit down for a short breakfast cruise. Then they would begin their day of recreation. Recreation consists of fishing. Everybody generally fishes to catch enough fish for the shore lunch. For those who get done their fishing early, we have a lot of other recreational activities that we can offer. We have a an on-staff naturalist. We have a professional photographer that'll come out and teach people photography. We've got a trap range. Actually, it's a competition setup trap range, and we have sporting clays. We have actually a golf driving range. We have all the regular water sports: water skiing, tubing, kneeboarding. We offer sea-doos. So there's a whole lot of other things that people can be doing. In tune with having the naturalists come down, we have a 2.5 kilometer wilderness trail. That's very popular when people come.